Oh no,
Dude, it didn't. Okay, greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Podwans podcast. Today we are going to be covering the Iron Squadron. I'm your host, Car J, joined by my co-host Luke.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
And my co-host Hereth.
Welcome back, everybody.
Let's get on to the show.
What episode are we going to be talking about today?
I said Iron Squadron. You didn't hear me.
He usually. Never mind. All right, let's get into this. This is already going so well.
But
The Jedi Knights are all but destroyed, and yet your task is not complete, Inquisitor. The Emperor has foreseen a new threat rising against him. The Podwans Podcast.
I give you one job.
Fook. Okay, first I glitched.
You did. I will say you did glitch. That was hilarious. That was great.
Not only did I glitch, but I also did say Iron Squadron.
You know what also is going to be the funnier part is, Luke? On the audio version on Spotify, he won't glitch.
No,
which is going to make it 10 times funnier.
Yeah, he won't glitch. It'll be great. Okay. So, Char obviously is not here.
What?
Because he's going to be boarding a plane, and he will be here with me on Saturday, playing Jedi Survivor.
Right.
Hence, no, your name is Carter, not Char. So
I'm sure Carter's been part of the podcast since day one. Luke, what are you talking about?
We've got one guest today. He has been on literally almost everything. Fun fact: he just finished Star Wars Rebels not too long ago, so that's kind of hilarious. And yeah, so let's introduce our one and only guest, Forward in the Black, or Chase.
Rebels is almost as good as Resistance.
I knew that was coming.
Nice. Chase, how are you doing?
Great.
How are you doing since celebrations ended? I mean, we're about 3 weeks out, so
yeah, it wasn't bad this time. I think especially since I'd seen people in the interim between both celebrations. So, and then we're going with a group. We're going with Mara J. Skywalker and Star Wars Tia to go see
nice.
Yeah,
you going to see that tomorrow?
Saturday. So we're gonna go to Lincoln Center.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, the post-con blues wasn't as bad, especially knowing like I'm gonna see people like 3 weeks into it, and then I saw Hereth, after celebration in Seattle. Saw you in Philly. I haven't seen Carter since celebration.
Yeah,
I haven't seen anybody.
Major L.
Actually, no, I've seen Aiden since celebration.
It sounds like I need to keep Carter in the loop about something. So we'll discuss that off air.
Oh yeah. No, I think he already knows about that.
He knows about it.
I'm pretty sure he does. But
Carter
anyway, Chase, where can the good people follow you?
You can follow me. How does this work? Nope. Forward into the Black on TikTok, Twitch, YouTube. I haven't streamed in a while, but I talk about Star Wars and Star Citizen on TikTok, and then I usually stream Elite Dangerous or Star Citizen on Twitch and YouTube.
And are you gonna play Jedi Survivor?
Eventually, I got to play Resident Evil 4. I gotta play a lot of games before I play. Also, Armored Core 6 got a release date for August, so
watch out.
Survivor can wait.
Yeah. Oh man, but we love having you on, Chase. You're always a delight to have. I mean, in some cases, you kind of are like the fifth member of the podcast.
Fifth.
I thought Chase created Podwans and was the founding member, and then got dethroned by Luke.
We're not going. We're not going with that. We're not going with that. But yeah, it's we're talking Iron Squadron. But the icebreaker question: if you had to put a squad together that resembled Iron Squadron that we see, like the three, the gang of three, from the Star Wars community, who would you choose and why?
Can I just like get codename Fulcrum and call it?
I guess,
You
but
could
I
kick
mean there are
anyone's
two other.
ass.
I mean, there's two more. There's two
If
more
I could
spots
do
there.
codename Fulcrum for sure.
Yeah.
Are we looking like just to take on the Empire, right?
Yes. Well, I mean,
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Codename Fulcrum.
Okay.
Carter.
Wow.
Who else is
All
like
right.
fucking ripped?
You need somebody to be smart here.
I don't. You idiot.
He already is.
All right, if I pick someone smart, it'd be Beth. If I could do Beth,
Okay.
Beth, Carter, and Nick. That is all I need.
Okay. That's a good squad. That's a good squad. Carter, who would you choose?
Okay, I'm taking Chris.
Ooh, that's a good choice.
I'm taking Chris.
Good choice.
for the mediator, because I feel like I would be too trigger happy and I would need someone to like, all right, calm down now. So I'm gonna go him. I'm gonna go, and I get two more.
Yeah, you get two more.
I'm gonna go. Actually, I'm also gonna go Chase, not just because he picked me, but because I feel like he could pilot very well.
Oh, okay.
Well, does it not make sense?
It does, but I'm also
Okay,
calling
so
bull that the main reason is because he chose you.
And then, then I'm gonna go. Okay, I'm gonna go Bale.
Oh,
and then I'm gonna go Hereth. Then Hereth is the astromech druid.
Oh my!
You're doomed for picking Bale. He will.
That's what I was gonna say.
He will
like,
unintentionally sabotage every mission.
Really, Bale. I mean, I guess you're dying on the first day. That's awesome.
What's gonna happen is he's gonna be on your first mission. He's gonna say, "I'm not that drunk," and then just stumble over everything.
Oh man. But anyway, my three. Well, I'm gonna be sappy. I'd pick Alanis.
I wonder why.
Then we could have like a whole kind of like
Hera
thing.
Except you're way less cool than Kanan.
I mean, I'm kind of cooler than Kanan. So there you go. Aiden. No, I was literally, I shit you not. That's hilarious. I would pick Aiden because he is very intelligent, but he can also like make anybody laugh in like a blink of an eye. Like it doesn't even need to be like anything quick he's hilarious. And then the number 3 spot's tough. I would have to say
Star Wars theory.
Oh, absolutely not. I would shoot him into like the. I would jettison him into space to freeze and die.
No, you would do that, and then he would come and like come back in the ship like the Death Troopers in Mando season 2.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Who's my last person? Honestly, I have to go Char.
Char's a sleeper pick.
He is a sleeper pick.
Like, so are we going 4s now? I thought we were going 3s.
Well,
you are the 4th.
You are the 4th. Yeah, you would technically be the 4th because you'd be the astromech. Like that's perfect, Carter, for like doing that. That is absolutely perfect because Hereth does fit that really well. So
I feel like he could like hack something. do something. I don't
No, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I got a squad.
Oh yeah, Hereth,
D
what's yours?
squad.
I mean, Carter's still half the squad, but he forgot 2 key members. So
Ooh,
obviously I'm going Chris and Chase, then
okay.
going Andrew DeMolanta, and then codename Fulcrum.
Wow, that's wow,
It's a pretty good squad.
man, you're wow. Okay, going an all male cast. That is a move. That is a move.
I will say I like Luke's pick of Alanis because I feel like if anything got too crazy, Alanis could, like, I don't know, teach us something.
Let's be real. The fact that nobody picked Remy actually bothers me. I should have picked Remy.
Remy is, if we're picking an astromech, is Remy.
Yeah. Oh
Remy
my
is
God.
Chopper.
Yes. Yes. Remy is Chopper. Oh my God. Yes. By the way, anybody here who is looking for an editor, either for podcasts, TikTok, shorts, anything, hit up Remy. She's
Well,
doing.
I got competition now.
Oh, I mean, she did a really good job when we were gone, so I can't.
Remy DM a 3-minute video essay on why Hereth suck.
What, Chase? Are you gonna write this entirely with Chat GPT?
Okay.
No, don't use ChatGPT. I Terminator to come true.
Element. The squads are for if you had to choose. We'll say
No,
four
they're for your
now.
mom.
Four people to take on the Empire with from the Star Wars community. Who would you pick and why? But yeah, always Remy, always looking out for you. But yeah, that's the icebreaker question.
She is fast. I'm faster.
But anyway,
That's not always a good thing.
All right. Now on that note, we are going to get into the story of Iron Squadron. So, the story of Iron Squadron. The Rebels crew is sent to Adelon, which is the home planet of Sato. I can't ever remember.
Yeah.
Is it Commander Sato? It's Commander Sato.
June Sato.
And they encounter Iron Squadron. So it's a ragtag group of kids. It's three kids and a R5 astromech droid. And they are what?
It's an R3 unit.
Oh, R3 unit. Sorry, R3 unit. And they're taking on the Empire. And the Rebels crew is kind of like being like, "Oh, that's interesting. Good job." Like they kind of are impressive. And then they join up, and it's like, "Oh, so you guys." It's funny because, like, the entire time Matt Mardigan is like talking about taking down Star Destroyers, and it's like that, like, and I love how every single time he brings it up, like Sabine is like, "That's not a Star Destroyer," and it's just like constant. So they end up, the Empire ends up sending reinforcements. The Rebels crew tries to get Iron Squadron to off of to leave with them, and Matt doesn't agree with that. He stays behind. Ezra has to convince Hera to go back for him. Him and Sabine go back for him. They save him, and the Rebels crew, and well, it's isn't it just no, but Commander Sato shows up. Man, I just watched this, but now I'm just like blanking.
Well,
So-
you missed that the one member is Sato's nephew. And
Yeah,
that went
that's
missing.
yeah.
Mart.
Mart. Why do I want to call him Matt? I don't know. Anyway, cool, Char. Interesting. Wow. You know what? You know what? It's not as easy as you make it out to be, okay? Chase. Anyway. I would so obviously they rescue Mart and he comes back and him and Sato have a nice little moment and that's the end. By the way, did you guys notice the droid sound at the end of the episode?
Or the bonk.
Yes, there's a
Yeah.
clanking sound.
That's Chopper
caught that.
killing R3.
Yeah. But since we're talking about Martin Matten's as a character, how does his stubbornness and desire to prove himself as a capable leader reflect the larger theme of adolescent heroism that we see in Star Wars and arrogance? How does that contribute to his character development throughout the show? I mean, we only see him a handful of times after this episode.
I mean, he plays a pretty big role in the end of season 4.
Yep.
Like as far as the siege of Lothal, I guess is what we would call it. Like he's a pretty key member of that, of like kind of the standby group, and then Ezra really tasks him for making sure that, I mean, he's the one about the burgles.
Yep.
It's just one of those things of it's just like he as prominent as the Ghost Squad, but like I think the Rebellion kind of recognizes him. He obviously has the family connection, but I think Mart's a really interesting character because Mart is of Ezra in the beginning of Rebels. While Ezra gets to see himself and how he was, and Ezra even talks to him, and he's like, "I know why you feel this way. I had to do the same." It's his not just for Mart; it's his growing moment. Ezra, of that self-realization of like, this is how I was. This is probably how a bunch of people were, kind of coming into the rebellion or their own rebellion, right? And he's not he wants to take down the Empire, is trying to take from him, and he's trying to defend his home from these like horrible people. So like I think he's a character, and I do like seeing that like he kind of like his character arc and be pretty important to the rebellion, and I think Ezra recognizes that. I think he recognizes himself in him and then puts him in a pretty important role in the end of Rebels. So Iron Squadron's great.
Yeah. I hate the fact that Chase was cutting in and out the entire time during that.
No.
It wasn't that. It was
dog.
It wasn't terrible. But I got the gist of that, and I totally agree. I think it was interesting for kind of to see Ezra kind of see and feel how the Ghost crew kind of felt when he was in that same situation where he was kind of like, hey, I can do it all on my own, and everything like that. It's great. Carter, your thoughts?
What I think, like this week and last week both kind of have similar themes of people not really wanting to join the rebellion, and then they do join the rebellion. Like last week was what's his name on the line? I'm forgetting. In the Mandalorian episode.
Fen Rao.
Fen Rao didn't necessarily want to join the rebellion until he like really trusted them, and it was kind of the same thing with Mart here. He didn't really want to join the rebellion at first, and then once he kind of saw the rebellion's morals and how he kind of agreed with that, he kind of joined, which is pretty cool, and it kind of shows how the Ghost crew is making an impact on the galaxy.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's interesting to see, because I'd like to see like maybe a book or something with his character, because I feel like his character is kind of one of those Glup Shadow type of characters. I find him very, very interesting throughout this episode because he's like, hey, I've taken down a Star Destroyer. To see like how naive he kind of is throughout this episode is just fun. And to see Sabine kind of be like, hey, every single time, that's not a Star Destroyer, was just interesting. Hereth, your thoughts?
I mean, you have to out me like this? Look, I'm kidding. So I guess I'll have to explain what was going on before the podcast tonight. So I usually, what I do for my prep style, again, Luke's very different. He'll watch the episode like Tuesday this week, and then like write the question a week in advance. I'm the type that like waits till the last second, watches the episode like a couple hours before, then writes the question. But I was dealing with a power outage for 6 hours straight, so I haven't watched the episode.
Hey, all right. Well, forget that. We'll go to the chat. Kenny goes. It needs of approval. Not much on Teenage Rebellion. He wants to make a name for himself. That's fair. That's fair. Obviously we get Chase finally finishing Rebels, so that's a plus. But we definitely can move into the second question because it has to do with Ezra. Carter, glad you're here to hear me talk about Ezra in a positive manner.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know why you don't like Ezra.
I just he
Because he's better than Anakin.
no.
He is.
First of all, is Ezra in Fortnite or gonna be in Fortnite? I didn't think so. So
That is
I
not
love
a good
this-
metric.
I know,
This is how
I know
we
it
create the
wasn't.
character. Are they in Fortnite?
No,
Yes.
literally. I tweeted this out when I saw that. I go, I have not downloaded Fortnite in 3 years, and they're about to make me download Fortnite just to play as Anakin Skywalker. How dare they? How dare
That is
Fell into the trap.
they? Oh,
Luke. You were not there at Celebration at the at Neve's party,
Oh
but
yeah.
we were talking about how all skinny white boys can look this.
Look the same.
Yeah, like the same type of boy cosplays Anakin. And else, you have like, but and you have Gels. That's it. It's always
That's
some
true.
lame skinny white dude that's like,
Yep.
and they only do Revenge of the Sith Anakin. No one does
Oh,
Attack
no.
of the Clones.
Never.
No. Nobody does that. You're absolutely
And-
right.
And no
Long
one
hair,
no one
the-
does Rohan. They just do a glove.
Yeah, that's fair. That is very fair. But he is a basic character, and that's true. It's a fact. But it's not that I don't necessarily like Ezra. I think with this rewatch, I've come to appreciate Ezra more as a character. I will say that he's still not one of my favorites, but I enjoy him a lot more than when I used to watch it.
But like, I'm just curious, like why?
I just never really connected with his character all that much. Like seriously, no hate. I just never was like, oh, Ezra. It never really. Kanan, on the other hand, was one of my favorites because it's like I just gravitated towards Kanan instead of Ezra.
So it's not because he didn't kill a tribe of people after his mom died.
Wow. No. No.
That's fair.
That's fair. No. So let's get into talking about Ezra. In this episode, we see Ezra be a mentor and a leader to Iron Squadron, which we really haven't seen. We've been seeing more of that this season, with obviously him getting more responsibility within the rebellion. But what does this foreshadow about his eventual role in leading the rebellion against the Empire as a whole? Carter, do you want to take away with that since he's your boy?
Sure, I will. I think it's, again, like you were saying, in season 3, Ezra definitely starts to get more of a leadership role, and the Ghost Crew really starts, I would say, and I would honestly say Hereth especially really starts to trust Ezra with going on his own missions and stuff, which is really big, but we haven't really seen him yet be able to mentor someone kind of like he does with Mart in this episode. So I think that's definitely a big step with him, and I would say he does a very good job, and Mart is probably one of the best people that could have been his first mentor, or he be the first mentor for them, just because of they're very similar. They kind of have family issues. He knows that, and they both were very early on joining the rebellion. And I think this again is just another stepping stone for Ezra to see what we ultimately see him do in season 4. So And so yeah, it's just a stepping stone, and Ezra has to keep building as season 3 progresses, and then once season 4 and once everything happens with Kane and stuff, he's kind of ready to take that more leadership role, and this is definitely a huge part of that.
Yeah.
Part of him in that leadership role.
Yeah. Yeah. Spoken like a true Ezra fan. Love it. Gotta love it. Chase, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not just this episode. This episode, like I said, is a pretty big stepping stone for Ezra. But the thing that I think is really interesting about his character is the personality and growth he goes through in season 1, season 2, season 3, and season 4 is so defined, and I think that's really rare for shows. Like on season 1, Ezra is so different from season 2 Ezra, and then by like each season you get a new Ezra, and it's a better Ezra. Not that like Ezra was ever bad, it's just he's only getting he was great as a character in season 1, and he only gets better. Like when we look at the first episode of him kind of like stealing stuff from the Empire, great, he's a rebel, but not in the sense that we know rebel, to him taking out Thrawn in the last episode, and just having that huge like contrast and just like total like span of growth. And I do think, especially in this episode, kind of seeing that like definitive mark of like, hey, he is growing and he is becoming better. Like he's even saying, hey, we need to help these people, and Hera's like, go for it. I trust you with this. And yes. Thanks, Pep.
Yeah. Thanks, Element, for the super chat, $10. We really appreciate that. This all goes to Chase. So, yeah,
Wow.
There you go. And $1 to me for looking like a Numenorian. That's great. Thanks. Appreciate that, Pep. Always love it.
Can I build off of Chase real quick?
No, yeah. Go ahead.
I like how you said in each season of Rebels you kind of get a different Ezra. And
he does get a bad haircut.
Yeah, the haircut ain't
No,
it.
The haircut is not it.
No, I agree.
I love how every single time Carter is on to talk about Ezra, we always bring up the haircut no matter what.
It's so atrocious.
I didn't even mention it this time.
It's so atrocious in this season. I'm just like, bro, you could have gone with the long hair. It would have been okay. Just trim it a little bit. Don't shave it all off.
He could have even what's so much worse about the haircut is Kanan's haircut is so much better.
Yeah. He just go like Kanan loses his sight, and it's just like, all right, I'm gonna go. I don't give a shit anymore. Like he's just like, I'm Hembo dad, and I'm just full on it.
And Chase and cuts his hair with a knife, and it comes out better than Ezra's.
Stop! It does.
That's a take. Wait, you like Kanan's haircut in Jedi Knight?
Oh, it's so sexy.
Yeah, it is.
I will not take this slander.
Ezra's great.
Right.
Ezra's amazing. There are moments where I'm like, what I think is so cool about Ezra is he's an annoying character on purpose. Like he's supposed to be annoying, but he's like charming and he's lovable. It's just like, oh, Ezra, shut up. I love you, but shut up.
Yeah.
And he does that really well, and the character is done really well. But yeah, the haircut's not bad.
Yeah. But Carter, on a serious note, you were gonna piggyback off of Chase.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say season 1 Ezra is just kind of getting introduced to the Ghost Crew. I would say season 2 is whenever he is really strengthening that bond with the Ghost Crew. Season 3 is whenever he's starting to get more leadership, and then season 4 he is the leader, or he becomes the main leader. That's all I really want to say.
No, and I totally agree with that with Chase, and maybe that's why I didn't really like Ezra when I first started watching it, is because of the annoyance part of it. But then again, it's like that's hypocritical because all of the main characters in Star Wars, besides Rey, I think
Rey.
Besides Rey, are annoying, like at one point or another in their story. So it's like it's not really fair. It's not really fair to bash Ezra when Anakin is right there.
Well, he's a 15-year-old teenager. Like, what do you expect?
No. So like that's I've grown away from that stance, because I feel like if you're gonna have that stance, then you need to look at it from every main character's story and how they've all started. Because I mean, if you look at it, Luke was annoying in A New Hope for the most part,
Tashi
and then
Station, it's some power converters.
yeah, and I mean, Anakin obviously had 2 movies where he was kind of like
It's
more
all
grounded.
Obi-Wan's fault.
I'll say,
But-
kind of in your defense, and again, this comes from like someone who like really does like Ezra and really liked watching him grow as a character. Is I do think and Luke are young characters that have bratty tendencies, whereas
Yes.
Ezra very much as a bratty teenager. Like that was his character, and the point of his character was to grow out of it. And we kind of see this like with Kazuto Ziono in Resistance, where he is this like hot shot, I'm better than everyone, and then starts to realize he's not better than everyone, and he has this really good growth arc. And I think it's really interesting to see like the tropes get highlighted in new main characters and like how they grow beyond that. Because I mean, like I said, at season 1, episode 1, Rebels, that character Ezra, he's a brat. He's an annoying kid. He's supposed to be an annoying kid, and you're supposed to watch him grow out of that to something amazing.
Yeah. No, it's totally fair.
There's a lot
And
of hair shaming going on in the chat.
oh yeah, absolutely, we're hair shaming. Like, I mean, we do love mullets, hence why I basically have one. I mean, I've had one for like 3 weeks, so but
It's like your like last thing. You're like, I'm holding on to celebration with the
yeah,
haircut.
no,
I'm
literally,
still there in London.
No, I am cutting
Oh my
it
God,
probably
Pep
next week.
just made me think the best fan cast for Ezra is Keanu Reeves. In Ahsoka.
Fuck Revan. He's Ezra. Just doesn't fit up timelines,
That'd be
man.
perfect.
Doesn't fit up timeline. But no, like that's really perfect way to kind of like look at Ezra as a character, because he has those tendencies, but like you can see the character growth, like you were talking about, Chase. Like it's there. It's very
Pretty clear.
obvious. Yeah, it's very
It's-
clear, very obvious.
It's super clear if you're looking from 2 to 3.
Oh yeah.
The season finale of 2 to his hallway scene in season 3 is like it's night and day.
Yeah,
yeah,
like in season 2, there's a lot of like the ghost, like you said, the ghost crew is just comfortable having him on missions in season 2, and so like, hey, you should go on this mission with Kanan, you should go on this with Sabine. To season 3, where it's like, hey, you need to lead this mission to go into the Imperial base. You need to lead this mission to go here. And then in season 4, it is very much like his realization as a Jedi and really taking command with the rebellion. So yeah, like it's so cool to watch his character. And again, what I think is also cool about his later seasons is that like season 1, Ezra pops through every once in a while. He's like, you are still an annoying, shitty teenager.
Yeah.
He still has that.
Please
arrogant
keep reminding
confidence.
me that you were that annoying, shitty. It's great.
No, yeah, absolutely. But that is going to be it for my segment. Carter, are you ready to tackle the lore?
Let's go.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to tell 3 interesting facts is insignificant next to the power of the law.
All right, this week's lore is going to be based around sacrifice. Throughout this episode, we see the Iron Squadron, and more specifically, Mart willing to sacrifice anything to protect his home planet of Macapo. Throughout Star Wars, we see dozens of examples of people willing to sacrifice anything for their cause. Some examples of these include Ezra sacrificing himself to capture Grand Admiral Thrawn, which ultimately led to the freedom of Lothal. Jyn Erso sacrificing her life to get the Death Star plans to the rebels. Luke sacrificing his life to buy time for the Resistance so they can escape the First Order. And Kanan sacrificing his life to save the Ghost Crew. What are some of your guys' favorite examples of self-sacrifice in the Star Wars universe, and why?
God, I love that. I love that question. That was such a good question. And honestly, I could hear Char doing that. He asked me, because he asked me earlier. He was like, I was like, Carter really showed up for the lore section. He goes, is it as good as mine? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Could be. I liked it. I liked that question. That makes you think. Also, chat. If you guys can definitely answer that question as well. So we want to hear your guys' things. So there you
One
go.
thing that I think is really interesting, especially with this episode, is the expanded universe example of Dash Rendar, who flies a
Yes.
YT
Yes.
2400. Who it's been so long because the book ending and the game ending are different. One is he doesn't sacrifice himself, and he like is just trying to get away from like not that like whatever it was before the Black Sun and the Crimson Dawn. But like there is a point when he sacrifices himself to make sure Leia gets out of Prince Jizor's prison and destroy the Skyhook. So I think it's really cool that there is self-sacrifice associated with this spaceship, because we have it with Mart willing to sacrifice himself in this same ship, and are doing it again in the same ship. So I think that's a great parallel.
Yeah, absolutely. See, like one that really sticks out to me. I mean, not really a self-sacrifice in. I mean, the self-sacrifice. I mean, the biggest one would be, if we're gonna keep it on par, is Vader throwing Palpatine off. I mean, we're sticking with the Return of the Jedi 40 year anniversary. I mean, I feel like that's the easiest one to give.
I thought you were gonna do on brand and say Obi-Wan on the Death Star.
That's another good one. I was also gonna say you can't really say self-sacrifice, but Obi-Wan getting captured in the Kenobi series to kind of delay the Empire so that he can talk to Reva.
I thought you were gonna go with really recency bias. I'm surprised at that one.
Oh, Tala! Oh my God! Yeah, that's another one.
No!
Isla.
Oh yeah!
Oh
Pat!
my god.
Oh yeah!
There's so many recency bias ones.
Yeah, there
IG.
is. Wow. I mean,
Andor.
Yeah, I said
Marva.
Spine break. It wasn't an intentional sacrifice, but it was a sacrifice. Luthen's speech, great.
Oh, Luthen's speech is great.
I think there's a lot. It's not really a self-sacrifice, but one that sticks out to me was a character I was never really fond of is C-3PO in The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, yeah.
I'm taking one last look at my friends. It's like, I hated you for so long.
This is, I mean, literally, and that became the TikToks of the last couple of days of Celebration.
Bale decided to go with emotional damage on that one.
Yeah, it's that's a good one.
Let's not forget Holdo in The Last Jedi.
Yes. Holdo in The Last Jedi.
I'm surprised. I've been thinking of this since Carter asked the question. I'm surprised no one has said it. Tech.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, but we don't know if he's
dead.
dead.
He's not dead.
There's no fall damage in Star Wars.
A sacrifice is still a sacrifice.
There definitely is burn damage.
Oh,
We don't know that. We could see Robo Kanan.
Ooh, Robo Kanan.
Well, speaking of sacrifice, I'm always on brand with this one. Anytime I get a chance to, I'll find a way to insert it. Stone Geos, Fallen Star.
Oh fuck! God damn it! Why?
Nicholas saying Chirrut getting the comms up. I would also add of that of the entire Rogue One crew.
Yes,
Just
agreed.
All of it. I
totally agree. Totally agree with that. There's been some really good ones. Okay, let's say
willing to sacrifice himself in the last.
Yes. Well, Finn willing to sacrifice himself to take out Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
It's kind of a spoiler if you haven't read Victory's Price. There is a almost sacrifice in Price. I won't spoil anything, but there's a really good moment with a villain and a hero, and it doesn't look super good for the hero, and there is a really good just way it was written. So I will say that without spoiling anything because no one's read Victory's Price.
Is that Alphabet Squadron?
That's the last Alphabet Squadron book.
Okay. Yeah.
That book there's a character that is trying to sacrifice themselves in a handful of ways, and it becomes a theme of the book, and kind of like them learning that like kind of like the antithesis of this, like sometimes sacrifice isn't the way. Sometimes we need you here, and kind of like the theme of Rose and Finn of like this isn't always the option. The hero's death always the option. That is a theme, especially of the second book. in Alphabet Squadron with one of the characters that is just so good.
No, yeah, that's wild.
Pat Shmi is the old in sacrificing in all of Star Wars. Shmi is the greatest Skywalker. Prove me wrong.
I mean, you're not wrong. She's the only Skywalker that has ever birthed like a sentient being.
Also,
technically.
I was gonna say there's a good example of a sacrifice without dying was Shmi, because she made the sacrifice to let Anakin have a better
Yeah,
life.
her freedom and her motherhood, she gave up.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and you know what's funny?
I sacrificed my evening to be here.
I sacrificed
you didn't.
my Wi-Fi.
You wanted to be here. What are you talking about?
I forgot it was tonight.
Good
you
thing I
texted me.
reminded you. I'm glad that I reminded you. I mean, on the track of like that moment. So I was cleaning my apartment this last weekend, and I threw on the Phantom Menace, and it got to that part where she literally says, "Don't look back. Don't ever look back," and I'm like, God damn it, man! It hits so hard. That's true. I have sacrificed my setup because, content. But it's
There's room on that for all of us.
We could
I
all be
know.
on Luke's
I'm
couch.
just
I know.
saying.
That's right. But like I have to sit up every once in a while because like the
We
camera
could
and
do the
lighting's not-
Pod Ones pod couch.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
Guaranteed this couch is not making it to New Jersey, so that's unfortunate.
Ripperoni. Sounds like we have to do that soon.
Sounds like we better go now.
Yeah, seriously. But no, I liked a lot of those answers. Anybody in the chat? I mean, obviously, Alana says Thras.
Are we surprised?
No, not really. But it's a good answer. It's a good answer. I will say that it's a good answer.
IG-11, I like that.
IG-11, it was a very, very good
That was a good answer.
good answer. I like that one, Pat. Yep.
That was my first thought. Not gonna lie, I just didn't say it out loud.
No, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, those are like all really good answers. But Carter, way to knock it out of the park with that Char-esque question for lore.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Hereth, I guess if you want to take this, you can. You ready to do interconnectedness for the one question?
Sure. Carter hit the ceiling of the peak. Now we're going all the way down to the abyss, which is my section.
All right.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
All right.
All right, let's get into interconnectedness while everyone is disappointed in me. Okay, so in this episode, in classic fashion, you know where I'm going with this sometimes when I get a chance. Thrawn. I always go back to Thrawn if I can, and I found a way to get back to this. So, in this episode, we see Thrawn send Admiral Constantine instead of dealing with this himself. How does this decision that Thrawn makes compare to some of his other tactics we've seen in other stories?
I don't think this tactic is different, is like out of character or different from Thrawn. Thrawn sees a weakness in his fleet and is like, you know what, this is the perfect opportunity to get rid of this weakness, because he knows that it's Constantine, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Constantine will underestimate the rebels, and I think that's a big theme of Thrawn is never underestimate the rebels. Because most of the Empire thinks, oh, these scrappy little ships, they're not organized, they're not as good as us, and it always bites him in the butt. And Thrawn knows this, and Thrawn knows this is a weakness of Constantine, and he doesn't want Constantine around anymore. So he's like, you know what? You can prove yourself to me, and take out the rebels by yourself. You're so good, Constantine. You're great. You just need one light cruiser to take a little ship, and of course, it doesn't work. And Thrawn knows it doesn't. And his little speech towards Constantine at the end, it's like, oh, no, you were not asking for help. You mean you called me to tell me how you let them escape and you failed? Which was his plan all along. He knew this would happen. So there's nothing different.
Which is ironic because Constantine ends up biting Thrawn in the butt later in the season finale. So I just find it funny. It's like this is kind of like foreshadowing that happening of Constantine constantly screwing with Thrawn. But Carter.
Oh, I was just gonna say. I mean, Jake kind of nailed it around the head. But Thrawn never really loses. It's always a third party like Constantine that causes him to fail.
It's either Constantine or space whales.
No, I will say this
Or
though.
Price. I mean, Price, like,
Yeah,
Price in
fucked
season
him
4
hard.
is constantly
It's all
screwing up
Price's fault.
with Ron.
Yeah,
No.
but it like okay, we're defending Thrawn here. He was a little bit busy with Krennic's bullshit during that time.
Yeah,
So-
but Price didn't make it any better.
Price didn't make it any better, but we can't blame Thrawn for Price's mishaps.
I will say this: that a lot of the L's that Thrawn supposedly takes are not of his own. Like
Yes.
it's not really his fault, and a lot of the L's that the Empire takes while Thrawn is there are purposeful L's. Like think about it. Like
Yeah.
he knows what's gonna happen on Ryloth. He knows exactly what the rebels are gonna do, and he lets them do it to prove a point to the Empire. Like, hey, you got to pay attention to these small ragtag because they can be powerful. And even Tarkin says it. Like he says like in season 1, he says these are dangerous rebels because they can turn their hope into something tangible. Like, yes, all the rebel cells are not together. We're starting to see them come together though, and that's the fear that both Palpatine, Vader, Tarkin, and Thrawn all know that if they give them too much hope, then they'll lose, and that's what eventually ends up happening. So, and I mean, also with, yep, there we go.
Like Pep said,
yeah.
it's all connected.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's like, let's be real here. Like what Thrawn does in Rebels and in the books, he's always 3 steps ahead of his opponents.
Mhm.
It just so happens that in the finale, he gets outwitted.
He's playing chess while they're playing checkers, and then someone came over and knocked the boards off the table.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly what it was. No, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it was.
I mean, I guess you could call it kind of like plot armor, is that it's never his fault.
Yes.
It's always someone else screwing up that screws him up.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in the Filoni movie or in Ahsoka, because he's going to have to. Something's going to happen where he messes up again.
Yeah, and at Celebration, when they were kind of talking during the Ahsoka panel, they definitely said like Timothy Zahn is involved.
Yes.
With it, like they're like, this is you gotta remember, like 1989, I think was when he started writing Heir to the Empire.
Yep. Mhm.
Like this is an old character. Like this is like both expanded universe and canon. Like this is a fan favorite character that like has not gotten like actual love outside of like Timothy Zahn and then like the people who like did stuff like in the games until the 2010s. And so I think it's something that I think is really interesting, and maybe with the interconnectedness thing is not just Thrawn, but it's just like the amount of care and the behind the scenes, the small details that I think Lucasfilm is taking to bring the expanded universe to life for a lot of people. Like the amount of like stuff I was playing X-Wing Alliance the other day because they have like a new mod that makes it look modern. And I can't remember what it is, but there was one of the clans in Mandalorian was a clan in X-Wing Alliance. That's just the name.
Okay.
So they're just doing these, and I think they're taking like Timothy Zahn's creation, like, hey, this is your character. You have been working on this character we're getting, we're going to see the 40th anniversary of Heir to the Empire, not that like far off.
Yeah.
Like
2029, right?
You want to make sure that this character he's written every single Thrawn book. He was involved in the writing of Rebels, and like let's bring him on. He's the only who truly understands this character and can write him in a way, because Timothy Zahn's as smart as Thrawn is.
Yeah. Timmy definitely knows a lot.
Yeah.
Like and in speaking as a person that was in the room when that was announced, I don't know what Alanis cried harder for, seeing Lars Mikkelsen in as Thrawn, or the fact that Tizon is involved.
Yeah.
I
But
Go
yeah,
ahead, Chase.
I think it's so great to see, because like it's both great and frustrating to see, like, you know, we have like the toxic fanboys to say, oh, the EU is better, and they're throwing it away. It's like there's more expanded universe coming to life than there ever has been.
Right, like when they announced the timeline and they literally stole Dawn of the Jedi and New Jedi Order from like the names from Legends, like an Old
just,
Republic. Like, what do you guys want?
and seeing a lot of the stuff, even though like some of it's small and some of it's small, some of it's big, and seeing seeing all that stuff come to life is really great. But yeah, I mean, kind of like what you said, like even just like the Legends essential. I feel like I'm always at ends with people in the Star Wars community. I love Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void, and that's getting an Essential Legends release this year. I love, but it's so cool to see this, and in this episode especially, with the Outrider being kind of the central focus of that, and hearing freighter YT 2400, like a ship's designation number, not the Millennium Falcon, right? Not the X-wing. It's, you know, they, instead of saying X-wing, you say, hey, T-65B, and they're saying, hey, YT. It's like this stuff is really cool to like people like me who grew up reading about these things. So that's really cool to me. That's the interconnectedness I get, especially this episode, with having Thrawn, having, you know, stuff with, you know, like Char included and stuff like that. So
yeah,
great episode.
You're absolutely right with that, and I think it's so funny the way that you said that though, Chase, because it's like we're getting more Legends material into like being noticed by Lucasfilm than George ever like gave any knowledge to Legends when it was EU.
Kind of going back to, I mean, there are like, we, you know, credit where credit is due, and a lot, but in the special editions, Dash Rendar is taking off from Mos Eisley Starport in the Outrider. Like we see it taking off, and it was like, hey, that was, you know, Shadows of the Empire was a huge book, and it had a huge game along with it, and that really coincided with the release of the special editions, and it was like, hey, like this book is selling off the shelves. It's a New York Times bestseller. We have a game that's coming out, and it is flying off the shelves, especially around Christmas time. Everyone's getting copies of this game. People to this day talk about that game. It sucks. I grew up playing that game nonstop. I went and played it the other day. Man, that is not a good game. It controls like doo-doo. It's still nostalgic. It's still very nostalgic. The ship stuff is good, but like controlling Dash Rendar is a challenge. Like,
it's an N64 game.
Yeah, like people complain about Resident Evil and Silent Hill on the PS1. I'm like, go back and play Shadows of the Empire, and you will. Like, people complain about bad cameras today. Like, there's moments where the camera goes inside of Dash Rendar, and it's just like jagged polygons. Like, man, we had it pretty shitty back then. But no, like, yeah, it's been acknowledged in the past, but it's really, really getting the acknowledgement. Like, we're talking going from, I'm going to throw the tiny 3D model that's going to be this big on screen, and then people who are like, that's the Outrider, taking off, to this is an acknowledged ship. This is going to have a ship designation, and we're going to see both the exterior and the interior, and we're going to see the Corellian ship manufacturer freighters carrying cargo, how they carry cargo on the bottom, and then they, you know, fucking 9/11 the Imperial ship, but you know. Which is great. Like throwing cargo full of explosives at your enemy, that's a good tactic. That's a good guerrilla tactic. But like seeing that stuff to me is like super cool. Of like, hey, the Millennium Falcon is a freighter. We never see it carrying anything, and then we see the YT 2400 carrying cargo.
Yeah, it is. It's the small things. Kind of throw a little because we haven't done this on the podcast. We haven't talked about Celebration.
Let's talk about it.
Carter not being there
kind of gives
us but it also gives us a perspective of getting news from not being at Celebration. Carter, what was your favorite part of Celebration? I feel like I already know what it's going to be.
0.5 second hologram of Ezra Bridger.
All right. Well, that's pretty predictable. But like,
Well,
what
no,
else?
Zahn being, I mean, like you said, Zahn being involved in Ahsoka, the Ahsoka trailer.
I
and
mean,
announcements. I mean, like all the announcements, I would say still hit pretty hard,
Yeah.
but like it was just me like screaming in my dorm instead of literally the Ahsoka trailer dropped. I'm I'm sleeping. It's like 7 in the morning. I get like 3 calls, and I'm like, oh my god, what just happened? I look at my phone, see Ahsoka trailer. I just like leave because I was with my girlfriend. I just like left her. I was like, all right, I have to go. And I just like went down the hallway and was just screaming and crying while watching the Ahsoka trailer. Watched like 15 times in a row.
We should have
But
had Char and Carter react to that together.
I would.
That was a missed opportunity.
it was a missed opportunity, but I will not lie. As soon as the studio showcase ended, the first person I texted was Carter. Like
Yeah.
immediately, I was like,
Like my
I
phone
saw
screen was
Ezra.
So like in like obviously like there's a bit of FOMO of not being there, but still like I mean, it's the news is still awesome, and like
Yeah.
the timeline I would say is another giant thing. That was like,
Oh, timeline as in the timeline book, or like the time of
No,
seeing
the
the timeline event of
Seeing
like
the
Dawn of the
timeline.
Jedi. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like my thing with Celebration this year, and if you haven't filled out the survey, I mean, it's just gonna be the same shit, different time. Was it run well? I mean, yes and
Was it the same
no.
thing as last year?
no,
Again,
it was worse
It was
than I would say. It's
pretty
worse. It
yeah,
was
it
worse.
was pretty bad.
How long
But
was the
Yeah.
merch line?
I didn't even try.
I waited 3 hours for that time. No, 2.5 hours. For that timeline book. Me and Aiden did.
Oh
Yeah.
hell
The
no!
show floor this year was so
Was disappointing.
underwhelming compared to
Yeah.
last year. Like,
Oh,
just
really?
what was so interesting last year was like just like toy collectors selling stuff, and like people who had like a weird comic collections and just these like little tiny
Yes.
things of like just walking up and like just talking to someone who's like, oh yeah, like I asked someone like, hey, do you have this really really random alternate cover? And they're like, no, I know what you're talking about though. And like, getting into conversation with that. And that just wasn't there. Number one, it was there. And if it was so hard to navigate through
Yes.
anything.
Really?
Just like,
Huh.
Yeah.
I have never in my life had an issue with crowds. And there was multiple points in more so like the exhibitor hall where I was just like, I don't want to be here right now. This is just not fun.
Like last year with the Anaheim Convention Center, Carter, remember how it was like 3 different levels and everything was like spread out evenly? The Excel was one level,
They
one floor,
Oh,
one level.
One level, one long hallway.
Once
Yeah,
you
it
got
was-
to navigate the Anaheim Convention Center, it was fine.
Yeah.
It's like you could figure out which escalator goes where and whatever. But if it's all on one level, that would be
When
either-
all
was it
the panels
spread
released,
apart?
everyone got like trapped essentially in the middle of the convention center.
Yeah. No, literally though.
Huh.
Alanis is right. Like it did feel like it yeah.
I literally getting out of the studio showcase, I was like this, walking through people for like
Yeah.
an hour.
Yeah. No, but Aiden's right. You know it's bad when they have a whole booth dedicated to selling American snacks at a Star Wars convention. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. It wasn't well run, but like until it switches hands from Reed Pop, I don't think there's going to be much changes.
I've heard the Japan Convention Center is much better, but I'm not going to Japan, so I won't see it.
I think the
Well,
food
honestly-
selection was better at the convention center. I think
Oh,
there was
yeah.
just- yeah. There
The
was just,
food selection was better.
the food,
for
you know,
sure.
like there was just more to order, and it wasn't just food truck stuff. What I did see, and I grabbed one, is I found out there was two. There was like 2 in the exhibitor hall. There's like 2 donut vendors, which was weird.
Yeah.
They had one of the best donuts I've ever had in my life. Though. It was
Really?
so good. Yeah.
Interesting.
And yeah, that was interesting. It's something you didn't expect, and then I was like, oh, this was actually pretty cool. This is a really good donut. It felt like a lot of the exhibits, like the exhibitor booths, were companies that were running them.
Yes. Yes.
Like there was the amount of like small vendor like just like I have these things, or I run a comic book store and I'm here with my Star Wars comics. Like that felt very sparse. And there was that huge section of like Star Wars board games and learning how to play Star Wars board games, and maybe I missed it, but that seemed to be not there at all this year.
It was very hidden.
It was hidden. It was right next to the exhibitor, to the the shop with the books. Now let me tell you about that fucking experience, and Aiden can back me up on this.
Wait, with what?
So, with getting the timeline book, right? So we get the guy tells me, "Oh, you'll get through in 20 minutes," and I said, "So more like an hour." He goes, "Probably, who knows?" And it was so disorganized because we were halfway through the line, and the book signing for the High Republic was right next to it.
Oh, I walked by when that started.
Yeah. Is this the line for and it was just a nightmare. So then we get halfway through, and I noticed this fucking chuckle fuck has a whole stack, and I shit you not, of books like this. And he's like holding them, like going through the line, picking up more books. I go, motherfucker, you could have gotten 8.
Order them on Amazon.
No, that's literally what I said. I looked at Aiden and I go, this motherfucker is the reason why we've been sitting here for an hour and a half.
But the thing is, again, I didn't go to the thing, but I looked at all the exclusives. There's only 4 exclusives, and 2 of them were signed books, and the other 2 were early copies.
Yeah, but you know what? Like when that guy finally got through, me and Aiden, I go, Aiden, we're gonna clap. And everybody's going to look around us. And it doesn't matter. We started clapping and be like, man, yeah, glad you got all those books. We waited 2.5 hours, you fucking asshole. And it was like that right there was just like the most mismanaged horseshit.
Oh.
It was so mismanaged last year, too. Like,
I can build off mismanagement.
Well, the problem is that
was the merch and book store area
separate? They were separate.
Separate.
But was it worse run this year than last year?
I would say the store I feel like was a lot better managed.
Because
I also didn't get a queue. I didn't get
waiting in line for 2 hours waiting.
Yeah, we didn't do that. We learned that the bet like it wasn't like get all of your shit online before you go. Like, really.
But so I could talk about mismanagement, waiting in line, and all. This will probably be the last thing we talk about with Celebration. So. Trying to line up for Studio Showcase in the morning. Oh my god!
All of the main panels. People.
Oh my god!
And I'm pretty sure it said there is no queuing.
Queuing till 8 in the morning.
8. People were there at like
6 a.m. Yeah. So me and Bale get there first day at 7:40, and the line is almost starts at 11. We get there at 7:40 in the morning because we're like, okay, it opens in 20 minutes. You could just get in line immediately, be near the front, and then we got it. The line was already open and was going all the way to the front of the convention center.
Yeah,
and I was like, what the hell? So we get in line. Another 20 minutes go by. Everyone gets there, and the line's all the way to the train station. Yeah. All the way to the train station.
What?
Yeah.
And so we get in. It's me and Bale. Tate, being a gentleman, waited for us to get all the way into indoors. So we finally get indoors, and we wait for another 3 hours. They let us in at 9:30, and me and Bale immediately just book it for Galaxy Stage.
Yeah,
and Bale and I barely got in with the skin of our teeth. We got in like 11 minutes into the panel starting.
That's because you're a chump and didn't sneak in.
Yeah.
No, but
that's why I feel like next time I go, I'm sneaking in everywhere. I'm good at sneaking into places. I'm sneaking in everywhere I go.
Galaxy Stage closed within like 30 minutes. Celebration Stage was a no-go immediately. I was reading on the Discord. Everyone was like, no. Twin Suns was a no-go because as soon as you got out of the pre-queue, it was the first stage you saw.
Yeah,
they still do the same names and stuff, like the Twin Suns stage, like a little bit.
Yeah, everything was still the same. I was pissed that first day because both times I wanted to get into the Lucasfilm panel and I didn't get in. I was so fucking salty because it's like, again, last year we could have gotten into it if we would have known that we could have queued at like 7 a.m. And then this time when they said that we couldn't do that, it ended up happening again. So
And
that kind of sucked.
And the thing is, it's like your frustration with Studio Showcase was how I felt about the Ahsoka panel.
Oh, yeah,
because
exactly.
I knew I had no shot because I was like, well, with everyone lining up at 6 a.m. for the showcase, people are probably going to try to get there earlier for Ahsoka. So why should I even try?
It was like 5:30. Yeah.
I would have
But-
got up at 5 to go to these.
Well, the fact that I mean, besides that first day, I felt like everything, at least for me, was a lot more fun.
But
I mean,
for the first day,
the content, like, I mean, I didn't really get to do a lot of the content stuff last year,
Yeah.
but like, I really felt like everyone, like the early mornings, and I also think people who went last kind of were like, okay, we know we're not getting into everything.
Yeah.
We're okay with that.
Yeah.
There's still a bunch of other stuff to do.
Yep.
So into a couple lotteries, which was really nice. And like I got to see the stuff I wanted to see, and like to kind of maybe put a more positive spin on everything, like stuff like the Andor ILM panel was super cool. Like just having a panel of like visual effects artists talking about Andor and talking about how most of that show is practical effects. There's obviously CGI in there, but it's like stuff you don't realize. You think it's like, oh, that's CGI. That's not CGI. So that was really cool. The Ahsoka panel obviously was very cool.
Yep.
The publishing panel I thought was better last year than it was this year. There wasn't a lot to announce. They kind of showed some stuff from like 100 Objects in Star Wars, which was announced last year, and they said like, hey, just so you know, stuff from Andor is making it into the 100 Objects book. So that was like really cool. The Bad Batch panel was really cool. Seeing the trailer for Bad Batch. The Visions panel again was great.
Yep.
We got to see a full episode of Visions in that panel. So that was really cool.
Would you guys
but
get
yeah,
to
there
see
was
another
like
episode of Visions this year?
they didn't show anything last year. They just said they were doing it international versus just Japan last year, and then they showed a trailer for Visions 2, which the trailer's great. And then someone from every studio got to come in and talk about their episode, not give anything away, but kind of like talk about the art style, talk about why they did this. What is this episode mostly about? And then they showed the episode that has Dennis Lawson coming back as Wedge in Visions. It's not like a super high action X-Wing skit. It is a super cute like racing skit. But he's playing Wedge and he's very funny. But that was really cool. Like that was a really, really cool experience. But I mean, that plus like, I mean, all conventions are the same. Like the parties are kind of what matters afterwards.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's the hanging out with your friends at a pub at like 9 o'clock at night. Just
Haley and I taking
vibing.
Star Wars nerds clubbing.
That was the funniest thing that has probably happened at a celebration. Just the aftermath of karaoke and Chase and Haley guiding us into a club. Like 10 out of 10 experience.
Yeah, we'll go with that. No, yeah, it was really fun, and obviously it was the people that made the moments so great and stuff like that. So it was great. I mean, this celebration for like moments, I felt like there were a lot more.
I mean, there's the obvious one that you're missing, Luke.
Beth, Andy Serkis literally going
That's
over to
crazy.
Beth and getting a picture to send to Denise. That's wild. Like I feel like our group had a lot of what the fuck moments. You know what I mean?
Haley and I got stopped by a guy from Romania. That was like, I watch you guys on TikTok all the time.
What?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
he was like, he came up to me and he's like, "You're forward into the black," and I was like, "No, don't do this to me." He's like, "I'm so glad someone out there like gives Alphabet Squadron and Resistance the love deserves," and I'm like, "Whoa,
Oh my
hell
God.
yeah!" I get that, and like, cause like last year, I met Christopher Sean, which was a really like standout for me. But like having some dude come up to me and he sees like Haley saying, he's like, "Well, your Corellia Coffee Works, holy shit!" And there was one guy when we got out of Alanis's panel, which was also a really cool thing. Seeing like I didn't get to see Pep and Tate's panel, but like our friends were like part of Star Wars Celebration, which was really cool. But there was a guy when we got out of Atlantis' panel and we went to go meet with Bucky and Pep and Tate and Casey and everyone. There was a guy who like was freaking out that he was like, "Oh my God, I am standing in front of all of Star Wars TikTok," and he was like low key freaking out, which was really cool. It was just one of those things. He turned and saw, like, he was like, "Oh wow, it's really cool. It's Element 7. Oh wow, it's not a Kyber. Oh my God, it's really comic books. Oh my God, it's Star Wars Facts Guy." And it's just like, it was just a really cool moment just for that guy, to have like just like, wow, like it's kind of felt good. Like, hey, like there are people that we don't know that like watch us.
Yeah, that's the crazy.
That's super cool. Holy shit.
No, yeah, that is really like that's crazy. And I even made like a tweet like when we hit 1,500. Like, it just is mind-boggling to me that people watch our content.
Yeah,
like it's fucking wild. It's strange.
I mean, you could think about it. Like, you get a TikTok that gets like thousands of views, right? You know, whether it's thousands or tens of thousands of views, like that's still like those 10,000 eyes on your face.
It's real.
And then
weird.
like that becoming reality, like you go to a place
Like,
and then people are like,
that
"Oh, you
10,000.
are that person you are on the internet," and I put it really well. It's like, it's so funny that like you kind of expect people, you like go on the internet and you have a personality, but then everyone is just exactly the same as they are.
Yes.
They are in real life.
Yeah.
Which, like, I mean, that you're finding that out, but I mean, people like Tate coming and then getting dubbed Star Wars Party Guy and then Star Wars Club Guy.
Yes.
Dude,
I mean,
that
the
dude
funniest
flew
part was
37 hours for 140 hours and then flew another 37 hours home.
Yeah, I will say Tate was a highlight. Tate was a highlight whenever I was around with him, because the man just like was. No, he just was trucking, and
he would go to bed at like 4 a.m. and get up at like 8. Like,
Dude,
I was like, this man's a maniac.
This man has done wonders for the country of New Zealand. Okay, I will just say that the man has done work. Obviously a highlight for me is obviously Atlantis's panel, that going off without a hitch. And like just seeing people like giving her recognition. You know,
also Haley and I got in line for Atlantis's panel, and there was this like college age girl like in front of us, and just kind of like struck up conversation, and I was like, "I don't know you, I don't recognize you," and I was like, "Oh, like how did you hear about this panel?" And she's like, "Well, student, and I do essays. I'm in student university in France, and I use Star Wars. Yeah. She's like, I use Star Wars in part of my essays, and my professors like weren't cool with it at first, and then they became cool with it, and then seeing discovering the galaxy as like this whole thing, and it's like people are in the US are doing this, and then she's like, "Oh, how do you know?" I'm like, "Oh, we're like best friends with Atlantis."
yeah.
And she's like, "What?" But then also seeing a huge line kind of develop of people like we did not know, and then seeing that room like kind of fill up with people we did not know.
We didn't know.
Right, literally,
that was so cool to see.
Yeah.
Like, all of us sitting down and then looking behind us and seeing like half the room. We're just like,
because it's like it's fun to do it for your friends, and it's like, oh yeah, we all know each other here, we're having a good time. But then, like you said, you look back and like, I don't recognize any of these people. I've never seen any of these people in my life. And all here to see about a Star Wars classroom.
No, yeah, absolutely, and that was a highlight. Obviously the meeting Ewan again unexpectedly was a top 5 moment of my entire fucking life.
I just love how Luke Atlantis peer pressured you to go on the stage, and it was worth it.
I wasn't originally gonna go up there, and then it was that moment I will have for the rest of my life.
I got to see an Edrio cosplay, and I know that was really cool. Like the one character that I'm like, that's a super cool character, and then it's like he's on screen in Rogue One for I think 4.8 seconds.
Yeah,
and I'm like, but that's like, to me, that's what Star Wars has always been about, and like that's the story of Boba Fett, right? Of like, guy is like, he just looks cool and he's mostly in the background.
Yeah.
And then like these characters that were in the background, like the aliens in Mos Eisley, like have fleshed out to a whole universe. And then seeing a guy who's like, that dude looks cool, I'm gonna be him.
Yeah.
So like seeing that, and I think even like Kel's like doing Ochi and stuff like that, I think is really
Yes.
cool. And just like that's always since the very very beginning. Like, and it's like you hear the stories of like people like, oh yeah, I started dressing in like the late 70s as a Rebel pilot, and I just had to go see the movie a bunch because like it wasn't on like VHS at the time. They're like, I just had to buy movie tickets and then take a pad and paper and draw the costume.
And
It's kind of like going back to that.
And speaking of Kells as well, like another crazy moment with like speaking of like what the F moments for our group was Kells getting pulled by Matt Martin behind stage at the Celebration live stage and then getting a whole article posted about her, which is going to go on StarWars.com.
How?
Yeah, that's
Because Ethan Sachs knew Hayden and Ethan Sachs wanted Hayden and Kells' group to go with them to do a whole StarWars.com section about cosplays.
yeah.
And it was the last day of the convention, so nobody was on stage. So they're just like, why don't you guys just go backstage with us?
Yeah, that's a wild, yeah,
Yeah.
and like the connections we've made, and yeah, I would say, for if you are a Star Wars fan and you are looking to do Celebration, do it.
It's worth it.
It is worth it. You will never ever regret going to a convention. Like like I will never like. Am I gonna go to Japan in 25? Highly doubt it. But that's for other reasons. That's for reasons that are pretty valid. And
it's tricky. I've been looking at flights and I've been looking at hotels, and it's not going to be a cheap trip. I'm not counting anything out, but that looks like it's going to be very difficult to manage.
Yes. Yeah.
But we don't know where we're going to be in 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No,
yeah, absolutely.
Some of us could get a promotion or a new job, and it becomes easier. So anything can happen.
We'll see. I mean, but I know
definitely. I mean, getting a new audience and for like all those Star Wars fans in Japan and Asia, we can all celebrate because they're probably feeling the same exact way that we are about Japan that they were about London.
Yeah. Yeah, I brought that up. A lot of people, when they saw the thing for London, they're like, absolutely not. And then guess who's going to London?
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah. I in just kind of to put a bow on it, but kind of wrap it up perfectly.
What would you rate Squadron?
What would you rate my Squadron?
I said, what would you rate Iron Squadron?
Oh yeah, the rating. Yeah.
I thought we were gonna wait 3 interesting facts.
Yeah. Sorry, I completely just forgot about that. Let's do 3 interesting facts first, and then we'll kind of.
What's the bow tie you wanted to put on Luke?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what kind of bow tie I wanted.
Look, Carter got here prepared. He's ready to go. He's been waiting to do this.
These are not my facts. These are in fact Char's facts, but I will be reading.
3 interesting facts about a certain Rebels arc that you didn't know about until now.
Part 32, Iron Squadron Edition. Fact 1, inspired by an 80s war film. A key influence on the development of this episode was the original Red Dawn movie in 1984, which featured a group of teenagers defending their hometown from invading sources. As initially discussed, the Iron Squadron are basically a bunch of teens in their pickup trucks. Fact 2, meant for the special editions. The YT-2400 design used by the Iron Squadron originally developed as a background ship flying over Mos Eisley in the special edition release of Star Wars: A New Hope. It is known to fans as the Outrider, the ship that Dash Rendar flies in the legend story Shadows of the Empire. Fact 3, StarWars.com takes over. Gutierrez is named after Adi Gutierrez, host of
Andy Gutierrez,
host of Rebels Recon. Her character design is based on the Thelan species, as first seen as one of the background singers in the special edition release of Return of the Jedi.
And that's it for the 3 interesting facts of Iron Squadron.
I mean, all the Iron Squadron members are Lucasfilm Story Group inserters.
Yeah. But Yeah. What? Okay. So Chase, obviously, you're probably gonna give it Chef's Kiss.
No, I wouldn't give it Chef's Kiss.
Oh,
I would give it a great. Like I'd give it an Admiral. I think this is a great episode. I think it has a lot of growth. I think when I think of like Chef's Kiss, like obviously, as a very seasoned Rebels viewer, the Jedi Knight, right, is a Chef's Kiss. Yeah, Jedi Knight is a Chef's Kiss. Antilles Instruction for me is a Chef's Kiss. There's lots of episodes I think get it. I think this episode is great. This feels like the D Squad of Rebels for a lot of people. And while look, I do genuinely love D Squad, I fully understand how people are like, this is weird, even for the Clone Wars. This one boggles my mind that people aren't more into it, or that people are like, oh, this is the worst Rebels episode. And I'm like, this is one of the coolest Rebels episode, because this also is like, there's almost no blaster fire, there's no lightsabers, this is all ship combat. This is what a lot of people really want out of Star Wars, especially people like me. But it's also like a huge amount of growth for a lot of characters, and I think that there's a lot of just like interesting things, and just kind of like, those YouTube videos that are like the scale of ships in science fiction, where like, it's like when the Star Destroyer comment, like, that's not a Star Destroyer. And then you start to see the actual scale of these ships in this episode. There's so many cool things about this episode. I think the kids are great. I think Zeb's line of, oh, a ship full of Ezras, great. Which is exactly what it is. And I think that's awesome. I think this is a great episode. I do not understand how people are like, Iron Squadron, that was like the bummer episode of Rebels. I'm like, no.
You are literally on for almost every bummer episode.
There are no bummer episodes in Rebels. I like
agreed.
Okay, now that I have finished Ezra, now that I've finished all of Rebels, there are no bad episodes in this show. Like, there are episodes in the Clone Wars that I would say are just genuine stinkers. There are amazing moments in the Clone Wars. There's a whole lot to love in the Clone Wars. I think the fan base of the Clone Wars proves that there's a lot to love there. There are some, and I think the staunchest Clone Wars defenders will say, yeah, man, that is a hard thing to watch. Like,
absolutely. Agreed.
Rebels, it always hits. Like, are there episodes that hit higher than some of, like, yeah, sure, 100%. There are some episodes that just like, it's just kind of more character development, kind of exploring like Satine with other characters or Ezra with other characters, sure. But those are all good episodes, and this is another really good episode. And again, it is not a Twilight of the Apprentice, right? It is not Twin Sons. But it doesn't have to be. Imagine like what kind of show would be that? It would wear off. That effect would wear off. So I like this episode, and yeah, Rebels doesn't miss. So great show. Agreed. Carter.
I would give
Nicholas, you're wrong. Resistance is the most consistent show. Resistance and Andor. Resistance and Andor are the two like highly consistent shows.
Okay.
Give it Cap.
Anyway, Carter, go.
I'd say Captain. Pretty good.
He said Captain, no comment.
Oh, Captain, no comment. Okay. All right.
Good episode.
Hereth.
I mean, I feel like my ranking shouldn't count this week because I didn't watch the episode, but if I remember from past of watching the show, I would give it a Captain as well.
I will also give it a Captain. It has its moments. It is a fun. It's an interesting episode. I feel like we could have put this episode and the next episode together, and make it one. But
I also feel like
next episode.
Hondo and As Morgan episode.
Okay. You know what? All Hondo episodes are Grand Admiral. Like, let's just
yeah.
This is not a sarcastic comment. Hondo is easily in my top 5 favorite characters of Star Wars.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Hondo is amazing. Like, when we went to Galaxy's Edge, right?
Yep.
We know about the X-Wings, right?
Yeah.
You know what was also really, it wasn't as emotional, but it was like such a moment of joy for me, was going to Smuggler's Run and seeing Hondo. And you're just like,
yeah.
I love Hondo. Hondo's great.
I can't wait till we do another Disney trip, either to land or to world, because
I was just
it's
there like a few months ago, and oh my gosh,
yeah,
the same every time.
it's just it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Haley and I went in December, and it was we spent the whole day in the park, and then kind of like
Yeah.
were there um, until it closed. And also Galaxy's really, I know it's like stereotypical to say about Disney, like like it is cool to see like all the lanterns and all the lights going off. It is great. Hi, Lilybug.
Yep.
Ravioli, he's gone. Only Lily Beans.
No, no more post dinner moans.
Oh no.
Lily just like after like right on, and she's been an angel. She just wants to climb in bed.
There you go.
But yeah, no, go to Galaxy's Edge. Stay until it is an awesome experience. Go to Hangar, Docking Bay 7, Docking Bay 9, whatever it is.
7.
Yeah,
Docking
get
Bay
dinner there. It's great. There she is.
It is
my
great.
angel. Then just walk around at night. It's fantastic, and we should do that when we all get together for whatever we do.
Whatever's next.
Yep.
True.
Yep, absolutely. But that's gonna be it for this episode. Chase, where can the good people find you on the social medias?
Right. Forward into the black. Don't worry about Chase. Find that on TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube. On TikTok, like I said, mostly Star Wars and Star Citizen. And on YouTube, mostly Elite Dangerous and Star Citizen. Goober.
Hereth, where can the good people follow you?
Well, you can find me at Hereth Productions on TikTok and Instagram, Hereth_edits on Twitter, and of course you can find me here tonight for the launch of Jedi Survivor whenever that comes out. Whenever the game decides to install with the disc. So I'm just going to be sitting there staring at a download meter going,
Good
can I play the game? Can I play the game? No.
Good luck. Good luck.
And then once it starts, it's going to just be chaos until probably for another couple hours, and then I'll go to bed and then start another stream up the next morning.
There
So
you go.
let's see how it goes.
There you go. Carter, where can the good people follow you on the social medias?
You can find me on TikTok at Cart2D2, not CarCarJ, as it says in the corner. I was just filling in for the night. And then you can find me here. Seems pretty often recently.
Yeah, pretty. I've got some ideas. We'll talk offline.
I would
We'll
like to
talk
hear
offline.
that.
We'll
But yeah,
talk
you can find me there and here, and if you ever want a good dose of Ezra content, you know where to find me at Cart2D2.
Absolutely. You can follow Char at CharCharJ on all social medias. I would say as spelled right here, but he's
I spelled right here.
I don't. That's not
He's
my
good
thing.
at that.
He is very good at that. You're absolutely right,
You
Chase.
gotta, like, boom.
Yeah. And you can check him out on the next episode of the Pod Ones podcast, the one with Hondo. Yeah.
It's a great episode.
Where can the good
yeah.
I
people
don't
find
remember
me?
what happens, but I know it's a great episode.
Yeah. You can find me at you can find us, I should say, at the Pod Ones on all social medias. Obviously, tune in to Hereth's stream tonight on the channel. He will be doing a stream tonight and tomorrow, as he said earlier. So if you want to watch gameplay of Jedi Survivor, go with it.
Play it
Char, or you watch Chase play a different game.
Hell, I think you should just take a bunch of G Fuel and stay up on that one.
Nah, fuck that noise.
All about the
so-
balls energy.
You can see Char and I on this exact
Language.
damn it, now I can't.
I love how Chase gets mad at Luke for saying
on-
shit, but I say fuck and Chase is like nothing.
At 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Playing Jedi Survivor, doing some fun commentary with that. I'm sure you'll see some content from Char and I, since he will be here. But that is going to be it. On to the next one. and may the force be with you all.
Always.
Always.